we are mildly interesting guys, and we talk about some stuff. So welcome to the podcast, we call it Joel the Podcast. It's Alex and it's Alex, here for Joel the Podcast. Hello everybody, I'm Alex.
I'm Alex.
And this is our podcast, Joel.
Joel.
You know, I
I'm
think
getting super behind on uploading these, by the way. I was going to mention it just a second ago, but since I switched computers, I haven't had a chance to go back and.
Right.
I suppose the problem isn't that I switched computers; it's that I switched hard drives.
Right.
But the new hard drive. Here's the old hard drive, and here's the new hard drive.
Nice.
So there's
solid state, I assume.
As you may have noticed, though, that means there's no hard drive currently inside the laptop.
Right.
And that is because the cable, I think, went bad. So if I put it inside, it performs really, really badly, like borderline unusable. And that hard drive is, of course, where all of the videos are. So
you got a new you bought a new computer.
Yes.
And then also bought a new hard drive for your current computer.
I also received a hard drive for my birthday
Got it.
Yeah, they were that I had intended to do that long before I intended to buy a new computer. It just happens that they occurred simultaneously.
Right.
More or less.
All right. Well,
don't worry, everybody. I will get them uploaded.
You know, by the time they hear this, they'll have been uploaded. So.
Yeah. So there's nothing for them to worry about. Problem solved.
Don't worry, everybody. They've been uploaded.
You're welcome.
I realized that a benefit of doing our live podcast in a couple weeks is going to be that we will be able to say Joel at the same time and actually hear it at the same time.
It'll be so good. The episodes that are on my phone are the ones that we recorded on my phone, which means we were at the same place. So when I listen to the ones on my phone, they all sound like perfect.
Right.
Because they are. The ones we do now are it's not our fault that they're not as good.
Yeah. So anyway, welcome to whatever episode this is. I feel like I should probably stop saying the number because at some point it's going to get old.
I don't even remember, honestly. So
yeah, I've lost track. So welcome to episode something, and we're here a mere 2.5 weeks before our live episode 25 at Purdue.
If you haven't bought your tickets, now's the time.
If you haven't bought your tickets and you're wondering where can I buy tickets, there are no tickets.
You need to email us money at alexandalex@joelthepodcast.com.
Just email us a picture of cash.
And we'll email you back a picture of a ticket. I really wish people listened to these, and also I wish we would get this uploaded before the the live one so that somebody would do that.
Well, you can actually control that second part.
I can. You're right. What if I just did really good this week and got them all uploaded, and then we tried really hard to talk somebody into listening?
Oh wait, you're serious? I mean, yeah, I'm up for that.
Yeah. All right. That makes my workload this week, my uploading workload is now infinitely higher than it would have been otherwise. I don't think I would have done anything.
How much is uploaded now?
Okay. Sure.
What? No, I said
Sure.
how much is uploaded now.
Oh, how much is uploaded now?
I'm checking.
I think I uploaded the Patriots episode.
Nope.
I'm not certain.
The last episode is episode 15, entitled Self Roast. What is Self Roast?
That's the one where we talked about all of our old podcasts.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It wasn't that good.
The one with all, and I can see the email counter here in the bottom left-hand corner.
Yes, I did. Okay, so I did that, and I listened back to the podcast to do that because I had to, and like, it wasn't that bad. It wasn't good, but like, I feel like as we were talking, like we apologized at the end. We thought it was like terrible.
Well,
It just,
to be fair, you thinking it's okay means to the average listener it's probably terrible.
probably the worst thing they've ever heard.
Yeah, so I mean, honestly, anyone who actually listens to all these podcasts has to enjoy it, right? Like, they're so long, you're not gonna listen to them if you're not enjoying it. Like, maybe
I was gonna say the alternative is, or they just like us, but like even our friends don't listen to the podcast because it's just long.
Right, and it's not that interesting, I assume, to other people.
For the record, they're all really good to me.
Yeah, for the record, I do enjoy listening to them. I just have to take the view of, like, what if it was two people that I know that were just talking for an hour? I wonder how interested I would be. I mean, of course, I don't know anyone who's as funny as we are.
Right. I mean, we're pretty much the ideal two people to be doing this, at least in our like social group, right?
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. We should get some like another. We should see if it's really tricky because there's not a lot of. No, that doesn't matter. I was going to say there's not a lot of people who like live in the same place that we could get to do that, but like
we don't live in the same place.
We don't live in the same place. So we should pick two people who we think might do a good job and tell them to make we could have them make a guest episode of this podcast. You'd have to make sure they didn't do too good of a job.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to become the most popular episode.
All of our other episodes have like 1 view, and that one just has like 1,000.
We just create a spin-off podcast that's actually popular just by encouraging two other people to do it. All right. So why don't we start off here with our weekly reminder that Nathan does not owe me $1.
Yep, that is correct.
And moving on to Philadelphia sports, I think since the last episode, there were 2 Eagles games, and they thoroughly beat the Jets, and then they thoroughly got beaten by the Vikings. So we're in the oh no, we suck again phase of the Eagles, but it's honestly hard to tell how good they are. They're the only team to beat the Packers so far, and they're the only team to lose to the Ravens. Not the Ravens, the Falcons. So,
who knows?
What?
Who knows?
Yeah. Also, the Flyers season started. The NHL is officially in full swing.
I knew that, of course, being a hockey expert, but go on.
And they, at last I checked, they were 2-1. Yep, they're still 2-1. Sorry. The NHL is officially in full swing.
I knew that, of course, being a hockey expert, but go on.
And they, at last I checked, they were 2-1. Yep, they're still 2-1. Sorry, 2-0-1.
Yes.
So in hockey, you get 2 points for winning a game, and you get 1 point if you lose in overtime. So
right.
they're at 5 points, which is pretty good to start off the season.
Yeah, it's pretty solid.
And the Sixers start up in a couple weeks here. So by the time of our live episode, the Sixers will have started as well.
We'll be able to give a very thorough Philadelphia sports update to all of our excited fans.
Yes.
I would say that they may be more interested in the Purdue sports update, but
yeah,
maybe not. I mean,
well,
probably a couple of them, but
I can't imagine that anyone who's not like, if you go to Purdue, even if you're not much of a sports fan, you're definitely at least going to be more interested in a Purdue sports update than a Philadelphia sports update, right?
I think that's generally correct, but there would be people where like both levels of interest are just not at all interested.
Right. Anyway, speaking of Purdue sports,
right.
They won against Maryland. Very
they won
solidly.
By a lot. I will remind you that Maryland at one point, people thought they were very good.
Yeah, they beat Syracuse pretty solidly.
Right, they beat a couple teams at the beginning of the year, very thoroughly, and then who knows what happened, because then they lost to a bunch of people, including Purdue. So
yep,
they must be very bad now.
I have this to say about that, which is I'm actually visiting Maryland next weekend.
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm happy that Purdue won, so I can actually wear my Purdue stuff there. But second of all, I'm going to the Maryland game, and I actually didn't find out about that until a few days ago. But yeah. I was worried that I wasn't gonna be into the game because it was just gonna be like Maryland versus like someone, Illinois or someone. But I found out that it's Maryland against IU. So not only will I be wearing my Purdue gear, I will be cheering very heavily for Maryland.
That's excellent. I hope Maryland wins that game, just like they won their first couple of the season.
Yep, it's actually
amazing if Purdue solidly beat Maryland and then Maryland just like won 85-0 against IU. That's my dream score right there.
It's actually hilarious because the same thing happened to the Eagles. They beat the Jets last week, and then this week the Cowboys lost to the Jets. I'm really hoping we get the same thing happening here.
Yep. All right. If there's one thing I hope happens in this sports season, it's that.
Purdue beats Maryland. Maryland beats IU.
Yes.
Well, more than that, I hope Purdue beats IU, but this is like the second most thing.
Yeah, you're not wrong. I think we play IU at home this year, which gives me hope. I would be a little bit nervous if we were on the road, but I think we've got a decent chance. We're not that bad.
We are. We also are 2-0 against IU in the Jeff Brom era.
Right. So, as far as we know, Jeff Brom literally cannot lose to IU due to the laws of physics.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the empirical evidence supports that claim.
Yes. There have been zero observations that dispute that. So.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So I think we can move on to the main part of the podcast now.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll begin our weekly Steal questions from Ask Reddit with this. Of all movie opening scenes, which one sold the movie the best? So you might not have a great answer for this one, but the reason I asked this question is because I do have a great answer, which is The Dark Knight. The opening scene where the Joker robs the bank. That is a really good one. Excellent opening scene.
Yeah, that's very good, actually. It's a great way to introduce that character.
Yeah, and not only that, like once you watch that scene, if you're not watching the movie, you're just like, why am I not watching the movie right now? Like, I want to know what happens next.
Right.
So somebody actually commented that on the thread. They were like, it's the Dark Knight scene with the Joker, and some
Yeah.
people apparently there was like that scene was shown like as a promo for like during another movie, and
Uh-huh.
people were commenting that like when they after the promo ended, they were sad that they were watching this other movie instead of the Dark Knight.
That sucks for that other movie, but I mean, yeah, that makes a whole lot of sense to me.
Yeah. Did you have any that came to mind?
Nothing really jumped out at me. I can't say, and I feel like that's kind of indicative that I don't really have a great answer for the question, because like that feels like the kind of thing where like either you know something right away and it's a good answer, or you have to think for a while and you get like an okay answer.
Right.
So like I think the other problem for me at least is that I don't think I don't like remember scenes in movies very well, at least with when I'm not like watching them, you know? Like
Right.
if I'm watching it, I can probably come up with what's coming up next if I've seen it a while, but
Mhm.
just like on the spot right now, it's not that I'm thinking of movies and I'm like, oh, that's not that great. I'm just kind of struggling to like picture the beginning of a movie.
Okay, what's a movie that you really like?
Um, I really like The Dark Knight.
Oh, well, that's a
That's a
good
pretty good.
answer.
I wonder. Let's see. I'm not sure. A lot of the movies that I've seen recently have been Marvel movies, and I'm not sure there's any one of that bunch that I would pick necessarily.
I think Iron Man is a pretty good opening scene.
Iron Man is the best one that I can think of. Um, I also really liked the first Iron Man movie. I think it was, one of the better what turned out to be MCU movies, because at the time, I mean, that was it.
Yeah.
Um, let's see what else. I think the Lord of the Rings does a really good job. If you remember the beginning of the first movie, it's like the story of it's like all the backstory. I'm not sure how familiar you are with it.
I've never seen it.
Really? Okay. Well, maybe I just won't say anything about it then. You should go watch it.
All right, I'll keep that in mind. But when you said that, it actually reminded me of another one that I had thought of, which
Yeah?
is A New Hope, Star Wars: A New Hope. The scene where like Vader comes in, like chokes out the guy to find the
Yeah.
princess. That is a great scene as well. Really,
That's a great character introduction.
yeah. I mean, it's the first scene in the entire series franchise, so like
Right.
it really sets the tone, I think.
And there's so many bits about that scene that you're introduced to so much there about
Right,
that universe.
right.
It's really interesting. I mean, of course they had it all mapped out because they were like making a big movie, but like it was all of that information was really influential in all the other ones as well.
Right. I feel like there's a lot of stuff we take for granted, like about
Yeah,
Star Wars. Like I don't know if I ever watched that movie with knowing nothing about Star Wars. But like imagine like you go into a theater and you see Darth Vader like force choke someone. You're
right.
just like, what is going on? This is fucking awesome.
There's a lot of movies too that do the kind of like it's not the Force. It's like that kind of like mind powery stuff. And I can't think of any other movie where it works as well as Star Wars.
Right.
That's like the thing of the whole series, and it like fits. Anytime other movies do that, there's a huge chance, at least in my mind, that it seems really cheesy, and you're like, this is dumb. Of course that can't happen.
Right. Yeah. That's a good point. All right. Next question. Oh, get your phone out for this question, unless this is on your phone.
Bam. Phone right there. You are on my phone.
Here we go. Your last words are 15 taps of the predictive text on your phone. What is your dying phrase? One, two, three, four. All right, here's mine. Ready?
Yes.
We will see how it goes, and I will smile emoji. It is smile emoji, grinning emoji, grinning emoji, grinning emoji. My predictive text suggests emojis.
Yeah. So it turns out when I open my keyboard, at least on my texts to you, it doesn't like start me off with a predictive word. It'll let me enter in the first word, I think, before it gives me suggestions. So
just pick like an I or a we or you or something like that.
So I'm gonna say the just to be
Sure,
as generic as I can. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. I don't know why that happened. The weekend after that is fine with me, but I can do it. Smile emoji, smile emoji, smile emoji. I don't really use emojis that often.
No, yeah, me neither.
I'm not sure why I came up with that at the end as well.
Your dying words are the weekend after that I can do it.
The weekend after that is fine with me, but I can do it.
Nice. I'm gonna read some of the ones that were actually submitted to the thread. The top comment is, "You have to put your mind in the game, and then you'll have it." Here's the next one. "I guess I'll just try to get a ride home from work and then die." That's their last words. "This looks like a great place to lay my eggs, and eggs with eggs." The company's... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I feel like there's a lot of potential here. It's a little bit of a bummer that both of our phrases were kind of like pretty generic.
Right.
Let me start with a more interesting word. I'm going to stop it right there. This is I started with why, and the sentence up with for me is, "Why I didn't get to see you. Have a good day and time to meet with me and Alex."
So I guess you're not saying your last words to me. You're saying it to someone else.
Yep.
If I start mine with why, this is what I get. "Why do I need a reason? Why I don't want you to. Crying emoji, sad emoji, sad emoji." I think someone's killing me in this scenario.
You're gonna be murdered, and you're gonna go out with crying emojis.
My face just makes the crying emoji with the tears like coming down like they do in the emoji.
You're like screaming, and then all of a sudden your face just pops into a perfect circle with tears coming up.
Oh no.
I'm picturing, you know, like, have you seen, like, you know, the Snapchat filters that like really change your face?
Hmm.
Um, and like, if you look away, it doesn't do it, but then when you look at the camera and it detects your face, it just like changes your face real quick.
Uh-huh.
That's the
That's
sort of
what it,
transition
yeah.
I'm imagining to like emoji
Yep.
right on your face. If I
It's
was
like
good at animation, I would like do that and include it on this as the video for this podcast.
just not just for this part though, for the entire hour, it's just a loop of my face going from a normal to a crying emoji.
What I would do is I would ask you to like record yourself in as many different situations as you could where you were originally looking away from the camera, but then you looked at the camera. And then I would just make a montage of all of those clips where when you look at the camera, your face turns into an emoji.
I'm really sad. I love how you have this planned out, and I'm really sad that it's not gonna happen now. Like before you said that, I was just like, oh haha, what a funny idea. And now I'm just like, why can't this happen?
There'd
If
be
you're a
some.
listener, if you're a listener and you are good at video editing, email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com, and I will send you videos of my face for this.
And I will send you a modest amount of money to compensate you for your time.
I'm just waiting for a scammer to come up and be like, I can do it, and then you're just gonna send them money, and then they're gonna sell my face for videos of me on the, I don't know who would ever want that, but and then leave.
That's true. What would we do? I think I'd give you like $5 up front and then like $20 at the end.
You
So if
know,
you want if you want to make $25 and you are good at video editing, or even kind of mediocre at video editing, I think it'd be equally as funny if it was badly done.
yes. If honestly, if somebody emailed us, that would just be great for the fact that we got an email. So
Please email us. There's
if
no
you're
there's no
listening to this
reason.
podcast, please email us just to say
Yep.
hi.
Yep. You
We're
can
so
email
lonely.
us. Email us anything you want, and we will acknowledge you publicly on this podcast.
Or we
Because
won't if you don't want us to.
that's true. You can include a signed statement that you don't want to be acknowledged, and we won't even acknowledge you. We'll just
Well, I
think
don't know
about
about
you
that.
very fondly while we podcast.
I think if we get an email from someone who doesn't want to be identified, we can still talk about how we got an email. Just don't say who it was from.
That's correct. I think so. I
I
think that's
can't
within our legal.
I can't imagine us getting an email and then not talking about it on this podcast. Actually, what I'm imagining is like 3 years from now, when we stopped doing this podcast, we're just gonna get an email out of the blue, and then we're gonna have to start podcasting again.
Yeah, I mean that I feel like that really would revive the podcast if like, we stop doing this a few years from now and then somebody like emails us about one of the many very specific things we've told people to email us about,
I'm
and
here
we're
for
like,
that
"Oh
one
man,
cent.
no." Has anybody claimed the 1 cent yet? And we'd be like, "No, nobody listens to our podcast. You can have the 1 cent 10 years later."
Well, don't forget they have to include evidence that they've never punched a baby.
That's true.
All right, that was good. That was a good question to go through. Here's the next one. I'm just kind of jumping around. I have a few that aren't good. Here's the next question. You're an evil villain, and your job is to cause as much chaos as possible by removing one job from the earth. What job do you remove?
Hmm.
My first thought when I read this question was just like policemen.
Yeah.
Definitely cause a lot of chaos. But it seems like just like an easy answer. I'm wondering if there's like something more clever. Like garbage man would be pretty bad.
I that was actually the first one that I thought of as well. Like all the garbage collectors, if they just stopped, like if they stopped working, it would be a very slow descent into like piles of trash everywhere.
Right.
Because
I
I
mean,
can't imagine that most people would like take the extra effort to deliver their garbage somewhere.
I think a
I think
lot of I think a lot of people would just so they didn't have garbage just sitting around their house or lawn or whatever. Like
so.
at least in the beginning they would.
Does it become clear right away that this person is missing, or is it just like people know they're missing when they realize that whatever thing it is hasn't been getting done?
Right, I would say the latter. But the thing is, if every single person in this job just left, people would notice immediately.
Yeah. I think it would take 1 week, maybe less than 1 week. I don't know, maybe 2 weeks. Here's my thought process on that. From an individual perspective, you fill up your trash can. Let's say you live in a suburb where they pick up the trash every week. You fill up your trash can throughout the week, so obviously you're not going to know anything's wrong at that point. You put your garbage out by the road, and it doesn't get picked up. Day one, you're like, oh, I probably forgot a holiday or a schedule change or something. Even if you know it was definitely supposed to be that day, you're not going to be like that concerned. Maybe a couple days later, you're like, all right, something's weird. Maybe they just skipped this week entirely. But I think around that point, it would become more widely known that this happened everywhere.
See, there's a few factors that you're missing. Number one is not everyone gets their trash picked up on the same day. So
Right.
no matter when it happens, there's some people who are bound to have trash picked up on that day.
Yes.
So some people are going to start noticing immediately. Like even if they're like, yeah, some people, like you said, might be like, oh, maybe I missed a holiday or maybe they just couldn't make it today. But some
Yeah.
people are not going to take time. Like at least some people are going to be calling the garbage company being like, why wasn't my trash picked up?
That's a good point. I wasn't thinking about that. I did actually consider that people were like the schedule is not everyone on the same day. My thought process there was like, you're not going to post on social media that your trash didn't get picked up on the exact day, at least not on a large enough scale for me to think it would make that much of a difference. But I think you are right that people would call the garbage company about it and find out from them.
Right. And I think that's just the
Usually they
first
know right away.
That's just the first day or two. By the third or fourth day, people have started to realize that it's happened to everyone. Like this happens to
Right.
literally everyone. So like it's going to take less than a week easily in my opinion for people to realize this.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you having thought of it that way.
But yeah, I wonder if let's see. What else is like a necessary I wonder we could say like cashier. No one can buy anything. That would be pretty bad.
Is there the opportunity for other people who are not originally that, like, could somebody else just step in and fill the role? Or
Nope, this job no longer exists.
yeah, so cashier would be a pretty big deal. I think doctor would be a pretty big deal.
Doctor would be a big deal. Yeah. I didn't even think of that. Honestly, I feel like it's actually more of a challenge to come up with a job that would not cause chaos. Like even something that's like oh, insurance salesmen, like you might think, oh, they won't matter that much, but like no one can buy insurance.
Right. I bought insurance today. If the
Insurance is
insurance salesman didn't exist, I would.
insurance is required by law for everyone for their at least for their car.
Right.
So like that would be pretty bad. That one would the thing is for something like that it would take longer for it to matter though. Like the first week.
What about so the original question, not our reverse of the question. I think farmer might be one of the worst.
Wait, what's our reverse of the question?
What wouldn't matter if it disappeared?
No, the question is what would matter.
Yeah, farmer would matter if it
Yeah, that's
disappeared.
right. My point is that I think almost every job would just cause a big deal if it just stopped existing. Like,
Right. So what I meant, I guess, by the reverse is we had just said like it would be harder to come up with something that didn't matter.
yeah.
And I didn't want to throw out farmer after that without qualifying that I was back to the original question.
Right. Yeah, farmer would be a big deal. I wonder,
Yeah.
like, I feel like maybe like professional athlete would maybe not be that bad.
I think in terms of like real world consequences to people's well-being, it wouldn't be that bad, but like no, I don't know. It depends on so like if the job didn't exist, would we just forget about all of the athletes currently? Like would they also not exist?
No, they just get a different job. Everyone who's in the job currently gets a different job. But it's not like they all have to apply somewhere. They all just one day wake up and they're a different job.
And they always have been, or
I don't know. I would say no. I mean honestly at this point I'm just making up answers to your questions. But
yeah, no,
in my scenario, no. Everyone knows that they used to be a professional athlete,
yeah,
but they're just not anymore.
that job just doesn't. Well, see, I think what they would do then is pretty much what they do on the side of being professional athletes, which is just like endorse stuff or like,
Right.
like invest in other companies with their tons of money.
Their endorsement value would go down pretty quickly though, since they don't play sports anymore.
They don't do anything.
Right. Like for athletes endorsing stuff after they're done, only like the most famous, like Peyton Manning, still endorse stuff even after they're
Right.
finished playing. So like I feel like most athletes wouldn't really do endorsements or get much money from endorsements.
And they couldn't really turn around and become like coaches or sports analysts either because there's just no professional athletes to.
Right. Well, the thing is, there's no reason there couldn't still be college sports. Now, I mean, like, because we only removed professional athlete and college athletes don't get paid.
Right.
So,
not yet. I
Not
don't know
yet.
how closely you've been watching the California business regarding that.
well, I mean, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was about they can make money off of their image.
That's correct.
Not they get paid to actually play.
Right. They're not being paid directly. You're right.
Yeah, so that's a interesting question. All right. Here's the best question that I have. Ready?
All right, I'm ready.
What would be awesome to have 3 of, but terrible to have 300 of?
That is the question that I read last night and was going to
posted yesterday, so
yeah. So look at that. I would have contributed meaningfully if I had remembered to put effort into contributing. All right.
This question made me think back to your whole I'll do anything 3 times for $5.
Right.
Not that it's directly related, it just made me think of it.
Both question and statement use numbers. So
The number 3, both
the
of
number
them.
3, in fact. All right. So to actually answer the question, I think it would be nice to have 3.
What would you not want to have 300 of that you would want to have 3 of? What can you only really use 1 of? The tricky part is like you can say like, oh, TVs, but
Right.
like you could just sell the other TVs.
Yes.
The real trick is thinking of something that it's bad to have 300 of, rather than just annoying that you have too many.
But also, it's got to be good that you have 3 of them. Like, you can't just pick a bad thing.
Right. Yeah, you can't just pick. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. See, the other tricky part is that it's a lot easier to think of things that it's good to have 1 of, but not more than 1. Like,
Yeah.
it's good to have 1 spouse. It's not good to have 100 spouses. But it's not good to have 3 spouses, really.
Right. That's too complicated unless everybody's on the same page.
What is it good to have 3 of, but not 300 of?
I can't even think of something that you normally have 3 of. You know what I mean? Like something where you would specifically want 3. Like that's the regular state to be in.
Right. Well, you really just need to think of something that you have a few of, like gaming consoles.
But even like having 300 gaming consoles wouldn't be that bad.
Right, but my point is that's something that it would be normal to have 3 of, which your point was just saying you couldn't think of anything.
What about pairs of shoes? I don't know that it's that great to have 3 of them, but it's definitely not good, in my opinion, to have 300.
I mean, it's really not that bad though. You could just get rid of them.
Right. I mean, isn't that true of anything though?
Not necessarily. Like, I mean, so like if going back to the spouses one, like if you had 100 spouses, yeah, you could just divorce 99 of them, but that doesn't make the situation a ton better.
It's still just this horrible, complex situation. Yeah, you're right.
Man, this was such a good question in my mind, but I can't think of a single answer. Let's go see what Reddit says.
What about inches of hair?
That's not bad. Yeah.
I suppose you could just get a haircut, but like, yeah, I think you not that big a deal. Having 3 is a gigantic problem.
Excuse me. You broke up a little bit there. Say that again.
I said I think we can both agree that having 3 inches of hair is not that big a deal. Having 300 inches of hair is a gigantic problem.
Yes. Although, so that's definitely the best answer we've come up so far.
Yeah.
But it's not perfect because having 3 inches of hair isn't necessarily good. It's just not bad.
It's just better than having 300 inches of hair.
Right.
Interesting. I'm curious to see what Reddit has to say and whether or not we can take all of their answers and apply that same logic. Because, like, I don't know, with so many people attempting to answer this question, surely some people can come up with good answers. I'm just really not sure with how you could answer this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. I'm just stalling until I can find the question. What is the worst piece of information you know?
Worst in what way?
That's just the question.
Huh.
Okay, I definitely passed it. Where is it? 300. Damn it. I cannot find the question. Let me search.
All right. I will also start to look just in case that helps for some reason.
Here it is. I found it. The top answer is tequila shots. That's a good answer.
It's certainly better to have 3 than 300.
Right. Well, I mean, the thing is, some people actually like tequila. So
Right.
for them, it's actually good to have 3 shots of tequila.
Yeah, I mean, any sort of food, I think, is a pretty decent answer there. Like,
Are you
well,
telling me?
anything.
Are you telling me you'd rather have 3 pizzas than 300 pizzas?
I mean, if I were to receive them all at once, then yeah. Well, I don't know. Would they all be different pizzas?
They can be
Having
whatever
three.
kind. They can be whatever kind of pizzas you want.
All right, in that case, definitely 300 pieces is
Yeah.
better because a lot of it would probably go to waste. Well, I mean, you just share it with people, right? But like
You can freeze it
having
too.
300 pizzas, you could just have 300 different good kinds of pizza. There's a lot of good pizzas.
Yeah. This person says arms.
Maybe.
What do you mean maybe? Can you imagine having a third arm? That'd be so nice.
Maybe.
Yeah.
That's what I mean by maybe.
Yeah, it probably would actually suck because you'd be a freak. But
You'd
aside
be
from that,
different. Everybody would hate you.
aside from that,
But
you could triple fist,
you
hold 3
what?
beers at once.
Oh, that okay. I thought you meant something different.
Yeah, I know. I had to clarify that very quickly. Oh,
Um,
here's a good one. Dogs.
that's a good answer because I think it really would be nice to have 3 dogs. Like that's not too overwhelming.
And that's good because you like
It's
dogs.
it's a good number of dogs. You would like all of the dogs. They would all like you, of course. They would get along with each other because the world is perfect. That would be a nice, happy situation.
Yes.
300 dogs would, if you had to keep them, like you could just get rid of them, some of them.
I mean, even that's difficult. Getting rid
Yeah,
of 300 dogs.
yeah. I think even if you could just like give them away to literally everyone you know, I think I would still feel an obligation to make sure they were like going to a good home and stuff like that.
Right.
So it would be a lot of work to get rid of them.
In a similar vein, children.
Ooh, yeah. 300 children, the worst thing I can think of.
What? Sorry, say that again.
300 children is pretty much the worst thing I can think of.
To have 300 of?
To have well, no. Like, yes. No, definitely not. It's pretty bad.
Oh, here's another one. Meals per day. 300 meals per day will make your stomach explode.
And 3 meals per day actually is great. I think that's the best answer I've heard so far.
Man, these are really seem like reasonably obvious answers. I'm surprised we couldn't think of any of them.
It turns out while we are hilarious, we're not very good at thoughtfully answering
We're
questions.
pretty dumb.
We're incredibly unintelligent.
Sneezes in a row.
Yeah. I'm usually pretty satisfied after one sneeze. I think the second and third sneezes would be pretty annoying.
Orgasms in a row.
I can't see any problem with 300.
You would just be completely. I'm trying to think of the word. You wouldn't be able to do anything
Yeah.
for like, I don't know how long your orgasms take, but like,
I don't know either.
it would be at least like 2 hours, 2 to 3 hours.
And you'd just be a raisin at the end.
Oh no. Showers in a day. That's a good one. Well, 3 showers is still a little on the high side.
That's pretty high. I've got to say, there are some days when 1 shower a day is like more than I want to do. And it just like you've got to, right? That's the socially acceptable thing, is to take a shower. You can't just not do that. So
Yeah.
I don't think I would enjoy 3 showers a day.
Here's another good one. Names.
So on one hand, yes, I think that's a pretty good answer. That's my real feeling about it. But my fun feeling about it is, wouldn't it be great to actually have 300 names?
You would never be able to remember them all.
Well, I mean, you can probably remember 300 of something, right? Like,
I can remember 300 of something that follows a pattern. Like, I can remember 300 numbers. But that's because I only really have to remember, like, the first 20, and the rest just follow a pattern of the first 10.
yeah, I'm curious actually if because you wouldn't use your full name all the time. You probably would not remember your name, which would be really strange. I still think if you did remember your name, like if I had 300 names, I would make an effort to remember them and bring it up in any situation that I could.
Imagine, like, putting your full name on, like, any official form.
I would put my full name on every official form. Like my signature would be
Oh,
my
no.
full name. I
Your
which would
signature takes 2 hours.
it would be really really funny the first time, like if you had to sign one thing. But last night I had to sign like 10 documents. That
Right.
would have been a nightmare.
Yeah, there's no way you would use your every single name for your signature.
Right. It would just be a really cool flex to just drop all 300 of your names on somebody at some point. You could like slap your resume on somebody's desk and it's like 30 pages thick, but all of it is just your name.
Well, you say that, but actually 300 names wouldn't actually take up that much space.
I guess it's just 300 words, right?
Yeah,
That's probably like half a page.
at most. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess it's not as like impressive of a volume of like paper as I was expecting.
Yeah, it's not that much if
Still
you write
works,
it
but
out. It's just a lot to say and remember, which are the two things you do most with names.
right. Yeah, that'd be horrific for anytime you met somebody new. I suppose that could go one of two ways. You tell them your name, and they're like, I absolutely am not going to remember any of that. So they just call you something, and chances are part of it, whatever they say is part of your name, as long as your name is a bunch of common names. But on the other hand, they could just like pick out the very first name of your
Right.
name.
That's what I assume I assume that. I mean, that's how I would introduce myself. If I had 300 names, I would just introduce myself by my first name, just like I do now.
Right.
Yeah. I wonder, like, if you didn't remember, like, I don't think I would remember my full name if I had 300 names. So I'm wondering how much would I remember? Like, would I put any effort into learning any of my names other than the first and last? I assume I would probably know at least like the second and third, right? Just out of just tangentially knowing them, out of having heard them.
Right.
Like, because I really don't think I would put effort into learning all 300 names. Hmm. Yeah.
So some deep answers, it turns out.
Yeah.
I had my doubts, but yeah, not bad.
Yeah. All right. Let's look at another question. Um, you get $100 anytime you are rejected from anything. How do you make money?
Uh,
First of all, I just want to say the actual real answer uh, that somebody put on the thread is just ask people for $100.
and then you get $100 or you get $100. So
Yes.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you can top that. That's genuinely the best. I mean, like you could ask for more money.
No, I do think you could top that
Huh?
because you're limited by interacting with people. And so, I mean, if if you're asking the same people, eventually it'll get old and they'll stop answering you. So you'd have to have some, turnover. You'd have to ask new people all the time.
Yeah.
So it would be you wouldn't just be constantly asking people. I think you could just constantly be applying online to jobs you're not qualified for. And anytime you get rejected, you would get the money.
Is it a rejection if they just don't answer you at all?
See
I
that?
suppose it is, right?
I don't know. That's the tricky part.
Right, because if it's not like worth their time to tell you no, does that still count? Because clearly you haven't been accepted.
Right. Maybe you know what might be better is applying to colleges because they usually send rejection
Yeah,
letters.
that's a good point, actually. You could just apply to all of the colleges you could find with free application fees every year.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be free since you make $100 for each of them.
I mean, if I remember right, the application fees for all of the schools I applied to as an undergrad were like $75 or less. And I knew of a couple schools that were more expensive than that, but like even then I don't think they were $100.
Right.
I'm sure there are some somewhere that's $100. Like,
See, the thing is, now that we have the Common App, it would be extremely efficient just to apply to every school possible on the Common App.
right.
The thing is, you'd have to use either fake or undersell yourself because, I mean, you could probably get accepted to a lot of colleges at this point in your life.
I think you're right. I'm kind of curious, actually, if I were to apply to like let's say I applied to Purdue again, and I applied to the College of Science intending to major in physics. I think they'd reject me
Yeah, I wonder.
because like
Yeah, same major, they would probably reject you.
I don't know why they would accept me to that unless
Well,
they were like,
because
I mean, sure, free money, right?
that's from their perspective, that is a reason for them to accept you.
Right. It's just a matter of like, are they
No,
that
that's not a reason to accept you. The thing is, Purdue gets more applications than they could accept.
right?
So they want to accept actual students over who they think will do well at Purdue Like they would accept someone who actually doesn't have a degree in physics before you, I would think.
I think you're correct. I think I would be rejected most anywhere if I applied for a physics degree.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. Just apply for physics everywhere and put your actual qualification as having an undergrad degree in physics.
Right. I mean, I could probably put a bunch of grad schools too, and they'd still reject me.
Yeah, but that wouldn't be as efficient because some would accept you.
Yeah, you're right. Also, the grad school applications are much more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess in this scenario, you get really good at applying to colleges.
Yeah, no, I think that's a really good one. I think colleges, I think
Jobs.
jobs in the wrong field, stuff like that, like maybe that you're like borderline qualified, but definitely not going to get accepted.
You could make you could I'm not even sure how this compares in efficiency, but you can make an online dating profile on as many sites as you can find and just ask as many girls as possible on dates. But you would have to make sure. What?
I was just going to say, I bet that would be ridiculously efficient, honestly.
Yeah.
With the number of requests you can get sent out in a relatively short amount of time.
Yeah, it's way easier to ask a girl out than to,
fill out the Common App.
Yeah, you would have to maybe, in order to increase your rate of rejection, you would have to, put no pictures. You'd have to actually just make your account look really suspicious, and then everyone would see. You may get a lot of the same. Just they ignore you if you do that.
You've got to be like mostly good so that you get a shot, but then like definitely bad right there at the end or something.
Right.
Like our actual profiles for the most part, but then at the end say like and happily married or something,
Unhappy. Yeah, actually that's a good one because I was trying to think like what can you say that will get them to respond to you but still reject you. Like if you are overtly creepy or mean or just something like that, I feel like you would just get blocked or ghosted more often than not. But,
right.
Like saying you're married might be still close to the line. I feel like you would have to say like you can't say happily married because that just seems like too much of a goof. You have to say like I'm married but I'm looking for, looking for a hookup. No, you can't say I'm looking for See, the thing is you have to seem genuine.
Right.
You can't just seem like a douchebag. You know what I bet though, you'd be pretty good at you would have pretty quickly perfect that strategy.
Oh yeah, I mean it's kind of funny that this was one that like our go-to thing was like online dating, and we're like, man, how would we get rejected? I think it'd be pretty easy to get rejected actually.
Yeah. Well, see, the trick is you want to get rejected as quickly as possible. Like, sure, I could, start a conversation and eventually get rejected, but I don't want to do that. I want to say, will you go out with me, and immediately get a no and not a nothing.
What if you did? Well, okay, so what if you were like good on paper, but then when you got to the chat stage, you just said something really offensive?
Yeah, that would
That's
work.
a lot of interaction, though.
Yeah, that's the issue. Like, you have to send a couple messages at least for them to respond to before you got rejected. And plus, I think that actually also leads to a lot of blocking too. Like, you would get into a conversation and then just say something incredibly mean and offensive, and then they would just block you, and you wouldn't necessarily get explicitly rejected, assuming that was part of the criteria.
Right, and I think making that part of the criteria does make it a bit more interesting to think about.
Right.
Because obviously, you could just be terrible, and nobody would ever accept you. But if your goal is to be like just borderline like acceptable but still rejected, then that's a bit trickier.
Hmm.
That's a cool question. Well, I'm curious to hear some of the responses. Do you have it?
Let me check. What are you making?
I'm just unwrapping my cutting board. It's wrapped in plastic. I got a new cutting board.
You are just made of money now.
That is, you're not wrong, but this was also a gift.
Hello, would you care to sign this petition to change insert controversial topic here for the good of your city? See, not a great strategy. Take too long. This person says my new job is applying for jobs I'm not qualified for. That's easy. That's what we said. So
Right.
that's good. Attempt to log in on random email accounts. Ooh.
That's a good one.
Yeah. You could probably write a script to automate that too.
I think we neglected some sort of or some forms of rejection. Like we assumed that it had to be a person rejecting you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Most of these most of these answers are not focused on the actual most efficient way. They're just kind of like this person says, for once the broken McDonald's ice cream machine will make me happy.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's obviously a terrible strategy money-wise, but it's funny.
Good joke though. Bad effort.
Ooh. Here's a question. So we were talking about dating sites. If you
Yeah.
go on Tinder,
Yeah.
I wonder if like does a left swipe count as a rejection? Because that would be probably pretty good.
Yeah, then you could just be like a little bit creepy.
You wouldn't even have to be creepy. You would just have to be kind of ugly. Yeah, creepy would also work.
Just unattractive.
Yeah.
No picture, and it says like 44 years old or something like that.
Married, like you said.
Not many people in the market for that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, that was a good question. So we're here at 1 hour 7. You want to do one more or just call it here?
Why don't we call it here? Maybe save that one for next time.
All right.
Give our listeners some suspense
Oh yeah.
forward to in the next episode.
Yeah, come back for the amazing questions that we didn't get to this episode.
Right. So many of them were great. We just couldn't include them. They'll all be in the next episode. Don't miss it. Otherwise,
if you do miss it, email us at alexandalex@joelthepodcast@gmail.com.
and we will respond to that email with what the question was and a transcript of our next podcast so that you can hear all of our gripping insights.
Okay, be careful because if somebody emails us, I'm not writing up that transcript.
You know what? I'd be happy enough about receiving an email. As long as it was somebody I didn't know. If it's one of you people that I know are just trying to make me do that because you know me. You want me to have to do useless work. Instead of the transcript, I will email you. It'll be a surprise. I'll come up with something not good to email you. So take that.
It'll be 300 dogs.
I will email you 300 dogs. If there were pictures of dogs, that would actually be a really nice email.
Yes. Yeah. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Don't forget to show up at our show on November 2nd.
Yep.
In the afternoon.